is Dangphu. My name is Tshering Denkar. Today I'll be reading a Bhutanese folktale from this storybook called Dangphu Dingphu, a collection of Bhutanese folktales by Dorji Penjore. This is part of Bhutan Storytelling Series, and for this episode I'll be reading the story of Tsipa Muten Phango. Tsipa Muten Phango. Tsipa means astrologer and Muten Phango is name of the astrologer. So this story is about Tsipa Muten Phango. Let's read now. Once upon a time, a man who refused to travel for business, work in field or carry load always sat near the hut. The fire's warmth added to his sloth and reddened his legs. His wife had to feed him almost like a child. One day, his wife thought of a plan to make him work. One early morning, she hung a bundle of meat outside the house and lured dogs towards it. When they began to bark and fight for the meat, she woke him up and sent him outside. He got up lazily, chased the dogs with the staff, and brought the meat. She told him that if he could find meat by merely crossing a threshold, he could get gold by traveling to distant lands. He understood her wisdom and asked her to prepare for his business journey. She loaded 2 rolls of wool on a horse and said, "In others' land, people buy wool for weaving clothes. Return home with some profits." He set off his business journey. It became too hot as he was traveling through an open meadow. So he took off his clothes, put it on horseback, and traveled naked. Suddenly, he saw a jackal enter a hole. He stopped his horse, blocked the hole with his hat, and began to frighten the animal by stomping with his feet. The frightened jackal ran out of the hole and in the process carried his hat. The sight of a jackal wearing a hat frightened the horse and ran away. Later, he searched for the horse everywhere but could not find it. His clothes, wool, and all other belongings were all gone with his timid horse. He continued his journey, since returning home empty-handed would exploit his angry wife. After a few days of wandering aimlessly without any food, he arrived near a king's palace, naked, cold, and hungry. He entered a stable where horses were kept in the ground floor and fodder in the upper floor. He climbed up and slept on a heap of fodder. The sun was shining bright when sounds of people awoke him in the morning. He peeped through the stable walls and watched the king, queen, princesses, and prince going out for a weekly royal bath. When the eldest princess was walking nearby the stable, a jewelry thread around her neck snapped and a nobu, a jewel, fell to the ground. Cows soon followed the royal entourage, and he saw a cow defecate on the jewels glittering in the sun. A herder followed the cows, picked up the dung, and splashed it on the wall, not knowing there was a jewel inside. The princess discovered the loss of the jewel in the evening. The king searched the servants' houses, including the whole palace. Astrologers and lamas resorted to divinations, but the jewel could not be found. In the morning of the 4th day, a steward found a naked stranger in the stable and asked for his identity. He explained everything truthfully. "Our king is in a bad mood. If he finds you're here, he'll even kill you," the steward said. "Why is your king angry?" he asked. "The princess has lost the most precious nobu, the jewel," and before the steward completed the sentence, he asked, "Do you know astrology?" "I used to practice astrology back in my village, but it may not find the Nobu, he replied. The steward reported about the naked astrologer to the king. When the king immediately sent for him, he first asked for clothes and food. The king sent him go, the dress, Kera, the belt, food, and some alcohol. Preparations were made for a new astrologer's divination. Preliminary divination read, "The jewel is here. It has not fallen in others' hand." He recommended elaborate rituals to find it out. "Who will conduct the rituals?" the king asked. "If you can't find anyone, then I'll perform the ritual myself," he said, and asked the king to kill one pig and build a small house for him to pray and meditate for 1 week. Actually, he was feeling so weak from many days of starvation and wanted to eat more pork and regain his health. A small house was soon built for his meditation, and a pig of his choice was slaughtered. He lived in his house and pretended to pray and meditate while the king's servant continued to serve him rice, pork, and alcohol. Slowly, his health improved. In the morning of the 7th day, he asked the direction in which the royal entourage had gone for a bath and asked them to come to him in that order. They were to find the jewel by shooting arrows towards the wall where the cow dung has been splashed. But none could hit the cow dung, not even the king. At last, he picked up the bow and arrow and shot straight at the cow dung. He took out the arrow along with the dung and gave it to the king. There was the jewel inside the dung. The king was so happy to get back his most precious jewel. In fact, his power was attributed to its blessing. There was no jewel like it in the whole world. The grateful king praised and offered to build a retreat house and appoint him as Dzongkha protector. He, however, refused the offer, saying he needed to go home to his poor wife. When the king asked him to name any rewards, he asked for 2 rolls of wool and a horse to replace the one he lost. The king gave him 100 horses packed with food, money, and everything he asked for, and the king also asked him to come for divination whenever his service was needed. He was then named Tsipa Muten Phango, meaning astrologer Muten Phango. His wife was so happy to see her lazy husband with 100 horses loaded with wealth. They lived a happy and a peaceful life. Tsipa Muten Phango's name and fame spread everywhere. Another king heard about him and called him for his service. The king had 9 sons. After his death, the eldest son succeeded him, only to die after a few years on the throne. The second son took over the crown. He also died, and he was followed by the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th who died as well. At last, the 9th son, the last and the youngest son, became the king, but he too became weak and sick. The palace suspected an evil force, and astrologers were asked to divine the cause and monks to conduct rituals to save the last king. The king's men went to Tsipa Muten Phango's village, taking a riding pony with a golden saddle arranged by the king. Knowing the king's men were coming, Tsipa Muten Phango hid in the attic and asked his wife to inform them that he has gone to India for business. The lie saved him, only to return after neighbors revealed that Tsipa was in the house. The wife was forced to reveal at last and said, "He went to India," and pointed her finger towards the attic where he was hiding. He could not refuse the king's command, and so they went in haste to save the dying king. As he was taken to the top floor of 9-storied palace, he thought of escaping at night. Suddenly, he struck upon an idea and asked the king to give him a hammer, knife, crowbar, saw, etc. to kill the devil. He actually wanted to cut the palace walls and doors and floors and windows one by one until he got down to the ground floor and then run away. He pretended to perform divination at night and asked the king and couriers not to be alarmed by midnight noise. At night, I might even step on you while searching for the devil. Don't get up. The devil is hiding in the palace only, he said. In the middle of the night, he woke up and began to saw floor planks and jumped to the 8th floor, then 7th, 6th, 5th, 4th, and 3rd floor, cutting walls and doors. He went all over the palace, stepping on the king, couriers, and servants. They all pretended to be asleep and kept silent. When he was trying to get down to the ground floor, his feet touched upon a hairy body. He wondered what could that be and immediately pulled up his feet. Then he heard someone talk. "Why, Zahor Gelmo, Your Majesty the Queen, you have never listened to my advice not to kill them. Now Tsipa Muten Phango is here. Yesterday I heard him saying the devil is hiding in this palace. He has already marked us. He has left by touching me," a male voice said. "Why are you afraid? Even I, a female, am not afraid. They can't kill us. Don't you have horns? Gore them. Don't you have teeth? Bite them. We can kill them all," a female voice replied. "Don't talk like a fool. They can kill us. They will bind us with the ropes, shoot us with arrows, and pierce us with spears. The whole kingdom will unite," scolded the male voice, and went further. "Now they will burn us alive. People will bring firewood, mustard oil. If hundreds of men gather, maybe they will defeat and kill us," she accepted. After listening to their words, Tsipa changed his mind and returned to his bed. Early in the morning, he woke up the whole palace to life and announced that the devil was no other than the king's yaks. He asked the people to bring firewood, mustard oil, spears, knife, bows, and arrow. They tied the yak's legs with the rope and threw him on a huge fire. As the yak was being burned, the queen, who was beside the dying king, ran towards the fire, screaming with excruciating pain, and entered the nostril of the burning yak. Both the yak and the queen was reduced to ashes. It so happened that the eldest prince, soon after becoming the king, married a girl who happened to be a devil in disguise. She was a queen during the day and a devil at night. She was actually married to a yak who was a devil too. Together, they began to kill and eat kings one by one. After the good had won over the evil, the king gave Tsipa Muten Phango half his subjects. He refused the offer, for the wealth given to him by the earlier king was sufficient even for all his neighbors for many, many years. Our fathers have bequeathed a wisdom that even a lazy man will prosper when his time comes.